Assassin's Creed Mirage's Valley of Memory DLC and the update it arrived alongside are generally fantastic additions to the game. A short sequence of good story missions and contracts, some new player requested features, new difficulty modes, and new rewards to unlock all make it something I appreciate, and all of it is free so we don't have much to lose. Parkour has been changed, philosophically for the better, but not all the changes are unambiguously positive, especially for keyboard players. I'll probably talk about this in a video after this one because it deserves special attention, and I don't have that much time here. And I would love to see keyboard and mouse treated a little better in future games. Assassin's Creed has in recent years become lauded for improved accessibility settings and PC-specific options, and in order for that to feel complete, I think keyboard input needs a bit more care in upcoming titles. I finished all of Valley of Memory on stream the day it released, and I'm really quite happy with it. I'll briefly go over my experience with everything present in this update, and what my plans for the game are when it comes to these additions. Valley of Memory is about Basim journeying to the region of Al-Ula to locate his missing father, who he suspects may be there. When he arrives and looks for his gravestone in a local cemetery, he instead meets a woman he briefly accompanies to her home, which has been occupied by a gang of cruel robbers operating in the area. After seeing how fast detection was on the new Ultimate Assassin difficulty, okay things happened as I used these enemies to warm up after returning to the game from such a long absence. I also had to get accustomed to the new modern control scheme, which I opted to use to test the reworked parkour with. Additionally, I chose to generate a DLC-ready save from the main menu instead of using my existing save file to test out how well this feature was implemented, since that's not something I've done in previous games. It turns out this is pretty well done and reasonably balanced. However, it does mean you go into the DLC without resources to get interesting tool mods, which is one of the more fun parts of Mirage as a game. For that reason alone, I would recommend using an existing save that has a good amount of tool mod progression, but if you don't care about this either way, then generating a DLC-ready save is a good way to play it. I found it to be an enjoyable level of challenge, though I did have to retreat from combat several times, which is the experience I signed up for when I selected Ultimate Difficulty. Note that you can save and protect a character in this stealth layout, and if you do, she'll actually help you in a later mission by putting a substantial number of guards to sleep for you using her cooking, so it's worth trying to do. After Basim brings his new acquaintance somewhere safe, I got to visit the town where I could grab a viewpoint, test out the new parkour on the architecture, and do my usual shenanigans of finishing map clear tasks before re-engaging the actual main story I'm here to do, something that becomes much more fun to do when movement actually has value and texture. Parkour was changed for this update, with manual jumps and free ejects being settings you can toggle, which I immediately did. Being able to eject into empty space, otherwise known as freeform, is quite nice. Being able to manually jump from any position where your feet are touching something is also quite nice. The distance on manual jumps feels kind of weak at first, but it depends on what you're jumping toward. It is useful for adjusting yourself onto nearby objects as you wish, especially at non-right angles from NSOs, which is something Mirage painfully suffered from not being able to do back on release. Manual jumps are an amazing change. A new control scheme was added to support the changes. Many players did have to relearn or rebuild their custom control schemes, which is understandably annoying, but I feel the new modern config is actually much better than most custom schemes I can think of for my purposes, and after a bit of practice, I'll probably feel quite comfortable. Not every player appreciates that climb and manual jump have to be on separate buttons, which I understand, but this is something I'm actually fine with and will give some more time. If it will bother me later, that'll be later. Right now it mostly does what I want. On controller, my initial impressions are that even right out of the box, it's a lot better and more functional than launch Mirage was when it comes to moving in ways that are actually useful to you. There are issues though. Eject ranges may be a little extreme sometimes, which I don't mind, but some players might, and if you're playing on keyboard, there are some very odd behaviors that can lead to frustration, especially since they seem to happen frequently. I'm working with Animus Drifter to document some of these, and he's graciously given me some good footage and some written explanations of what's happening to bring to you all at some point. It's a little complex to understand at a glance, but I think the big takeaway is that Assassin's Creed games need to do a little more playtesting on keyboard from here on out, to make sure everything works correctly and as intended. If you think this doesn't affect those playing on controllers, I can tell you that it does. It affects controllers less because they have ways to compensate for the weirdness that many players are likely doing intuitively and unconsciously, but you're still interacting with the same programming, just not necessarily at completely digital right angles. I think it should get looked at. Even if there are no plans to fix more bugs in Mirage, at least future games can be protected from these kind of flaws. One more thing I've been told about but haven't taken the time to check for myself is that on consoles, particularly PlayStation 5, the performance mode adds some allegedly egregious motion blur to your screen while sprinting. Let me know in the comments how this feels, if you've been experiencing the same. I want to find out if this is as common as it seems and how players feel about it. An option to toggle this motion blur on and off on consoles is being worked on, according to the AC Discord, so that's nice. This DLC is pretty short. You can comfortably finish the main story and a handful of side activities in around 4 hours, maybe a little less if you're faster, if you have good progression from an existing save, or if you're playing on a lower difficulty. With this in mind, is the story good? I think so. I enjoyed it a lot and I recommend it. One thing I want to highlight immediately is that the dialogue, acting, and overall emotional resonance of this story far exceed anything from the base game.
You are one of them.
He immediately knows.
Though I am aware of your kind. My apologies, but I am in a state of abject terror being in your presence.
That's fair. Assassins are scary.
I would have guessed mere nervousness. Yet, if it comforts you, know that appearances deceive. I did not come to Al-Ula seeking bloodshed, even if a touch of it found me. Now.
Okay, can I just say, this DLC Basim is immediately cooler than base game Basim, like already.
Tell me, how do you know of my people?
I was in the city on that day. I did not witness the deed, but saw the aftermath. A throat slit, carcass hanging from a balcony.
Al-Ul.
That was not the name I heard whispered.
More of a description. The man you speak of was Mas'ud al-Yaqub. It was a righteous kill.
I must take your word for it. May I ask your role in today's ordeal?
I was present and chose to intervene.
You say you were present.
My name is Basim. I came to Al-Ula in search of my father, Ishaq ibn Khalid. You know him?
The name. It is familiar, but... no.
It has been many years since I last saw him. I have recovered one of his possessions, likely stolen from him. If he fell prey to these same robbers, I must learn all I can about them, swiftly.
The market. It is the heartbeat of Al-Ula. If you intend to seek out these men, begin there.
The scene is clearly not something Basim at the beginning of base Mirage would be capable of. This is the kind of countenance and bearing you see from an experienced assassin, which for whatever reason, base Mirage never once actually gave us, even though it was always possible, because this DLC clearly takes place sometime before the end of the game. I was entertained watching a Mirage cutscene, which is to me something notable, since this game doesn't live in my memory for its flavorful dialogue and scene direction. Well, this is different. It may be the shortened timescale allowing them greater focus on a smaller number of important moments, but whatever the case may be that enabled this to happen, each one of the few story moments in this DLC that actually counts has gravitas I wasn't expecting. The final assassination in this short story and the outcome of that, the scenes that play out at its closing, played on my emotions as well. It's an effective, bittersweet melancholy chased by an aching peace that I think is worth experiencing, so I won't show the relevant scenes here. If the Basim in base Mirage had more moments like this, I think I would have come away from the game having enjoyed his character much more. As it stands, he's still nowhere close to the Basim that interests me, the one from Valhalla, but in one or two moments that somberness, coldness, and maturity alike do arise. Let's talk about, to me, the most important feature from this update, Animus Sequences. Not only can you replay most notable stealth missions from the entire game and DLC, including main assassinations and contracts, these now have challenges attached. These challenges may remind you of full syncs from earlier games, but these are much better, because they avoid being over-specified. They're usually things that ask you to showcase greater general play instead of demanding that you kill 3 guards after you Kobe a smoke bomb through a tiny ass window while the stars are aligned on a Tuesday. No, here there are always things like finish it without taking damage, finish it without being detected, don't use eagle vision, and the best one of them all, in every single mission that ties everything together, finish all above challenges in a single run under a certain time limit. This is really cool, because every challenge except the speedrun one doesn't demand perfection. You can even play the same mission several times and complete a different challenge on each attempt. They get saved, and you get points toward your unlocks, which you can see on the side of the screen here. Each one of these challenges you try to put together in the same run progressively demand more perfection when you group them together. These unlocks are things like equipment, which I genuinely do want, but there are also things like new screen filters and Animus mods or cheats that let you give yourself infinite refills of certain varieties. So if you're someone who likes to make videos or stylish showcases and you're on console, you no longer need to rebuy consumables every time, or waste time refilling your focus and other such things. Honestly, this whole Animus challenges system is really a nice feature for console players especially, because those screen filters are similar to what PC players can do using sweet effects or reshade. Likewise, the Animus cheats letting you refill or have infinite resources are similar to trainers or cheat engine tables that let us do the same. Getting these rewards and learning how to clear their unlock challenges individually is part of the step-by-step process to routing out how to get the time attack on every map, which again, asks you to put all your knowledge together. It's the gateway to helping get a lot of the later rewards quite a bit earlier, and it gets players into this iterative mindset, refining their run over and over, and feeling the satisfaction of getting a little better every time. This is something those of us who have made gameplay choreography for these games already have a taste for. It's kind of fun to have this way of playing the game be set into a formalized challenge with actual rules and consequences. I envision doing this on the hardest difficulty, by which I mean cranking every slider to maximum, will be really fun to both do and watch. Let me know if a long video of all of them done perfectly is something you would like to see. The Permadeath mode, called Full Synchronization in this game, has received a few changes. Of course, with the new difficulties being added, there are new equipable rewards for finishing a full game Permadeath run, which I would enjoy pursuing at some point. Now though, it seems your Permadeath rewards and your Animus Sequence rewards are bound to your account instead of individual saves, which seems to me like a great change. This lets you start progressionless fresh playthroughs and enjoy your rewards under those conditions, even if you've unlocked those rewards on a different save. Quite nice. I did spy in the patch notes that you can no longer start a Permadeath run from a new game, and it now has to be New Game Plus, which is a change whose reasoning I'm curious about. Were players accidentally starting Permadeath runs and ruining their first raw playthrough that way? It means that you now need to have finished the game once in order to play a run like this. Overall, this is a fantastic update. There are 1 or 2 bits of weirdness, which will hopefully be addressed, but it adds new ways to play the game and new reasons to engage with those, which to me is exactly what any good expansion to an existing experience needs to do. And all of this is free as long as you already have the game, which is kind of crazy. Thanks for listening. May fog shroud you, may stars light your way, and may the night keep you safe.